Get the share, guys. Hey, guys, thank you guys for tuning into the Table Talk Radio Show. My name is Tanisha Simpkins, and I have host Pastor Nathan Awesome, as better known as Pastor A, and also Dr. Terisha Lee. Hello, people. How are you this evening?
We are fantastic. I'm fantastic. How about you guys? Ladies, rather.
I'm
Doing all
good. I'm
right. Can't
good. I'm
complain.
good. Absolutely. A little busy day for me, but busy is sometimes good as long as it's productive. It can be pretty good. So, in our absence, Pastor David Rosa Jr. is celebrating his fourth year anniversary with his ministry. So, happy vacation to you. And also, we want to say a happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to Pastor A. He hit that big 4-0. Wait, 4-0. Whichever way you want to put it.
Right.
So
Happy
now you're
birthday.
officially 40. Yeah, happy birthday.
Yeah, in
You
a couple
guys
of hours. I still got a couple of hours left.
got a couple more hours. Okay, I
Couple of
saw
more
the
hours.
gifts rolling in and everything like that. So, yeah, you can put your cash app so folks can cash app because I didn't see the cash app. I was gonna cash app you something. I didn't see the cash app.
Oh, I could listen. Say no more.
You ain't got to ask twice, huh?
We got to
Right.
say
What's up,
no more.
Vincente? Vincente say he is in the house. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you everybody for joining us on Facebook and also on YouTube and wherever else that you're listening to on Table Talk Media page. We thank you so much. So let's just go. Let me just explain what Table Talk radio show is all about. We all about talking candidly on different topics, whether it be politics, religion, education. We're your go-to talk place. When it's simply just to talk it out, a Christian perspective talk show. If you have something to say, go ahead and say it. Ask a question or leave a comment. All right. So let me just go ahead and just get right into what's going on right now. So it's almost like an emergency, but for our government, it's not. Well, at least for Ron DeSantis, he said, just calm down. Everything is okay. The numbers are high, but number 45 say the numbers are high because y'all keep testing and won't just stay home. So it's like all conflicting. Should we be worried or should we get? I came to the realization is this. It is actually something. I think it was the World Health said today that let me put this. Well, what he said was we have to get comfortable where we are with this COVID. We have to know that some lives will be spared, as they say. We have to just go along with our norm and consider it to be the new norm, but get back to work and get back to business and get back to everything and just go with the flow. Today, well, yesterday, South Florida has had a record breaking of cases. I'm thinking positive cases if they're going to mention it. Cases of the coronavirus, and today it's going up as well. Um, I mean, just to you guys, your thought. Do you think we need another shutdown, or we just have to just like the world have to say, just keep it moving and be careful with yourself.
The way I look at it, and I can somewhat agree with the statement you just made, and I could agree with it more if the people were saying it was following the same guidelines. So if the governor is saying, "Hey, this is a new normal for us," then open up the governor's mansion for tours. If our president is saying that this is a new normal, then open up the White House for tours. Open up everything that's connected to you. Open it back up, and then I can understand that. But it's hard to say, I'm going to keep my distance. I'm going to shut everything down around me. But you guys go ahead, open up your schools, open up your restaurants, open up this, open up that. That's why I find that there is a major conflict and disconnect. That is for me. Again, I do believe in a sense this is not going away anytime soon. There's not even a vaccine available as of yet, so I understand that. But if we're telling one group of people to do something, then everyone needs to do it. That's where I stand.
I think we definitely are learning where our values are. And the fact that we haven't come up with, we've come up with a way to find trillions of dollars to bail out the Catholic Church and other multi-million dollar businesses, but we're saying that the economy will fall if we don't get people back in to work, back into school, and only lose a couple of them. We're definitely showing that we don't truly value human life the way we say. So that's putting aside all of the um, Black Lives Matter, abortion, immigration. You're showing that you really don't care. The truth of the matter is, the government can't afford to give a regular stimulus check until we open back up, or at least some type of accommodation. This isn't something that happens yearly. This isn't something that we plan to, that we think we have to have for the rest of our lives. It is a time. And because the numbers are rising, particularly in, I think there's about 4 states where the numbers are rising steadily, even if there were just a plan to keep those states at bay while the other states open, would at least make me think you care a bit. But to say, I think Betsy DeVoe said only 0.02% of students will be affected or even die, was just heartbreaking for me, because I'm thinking if I have to pick point two children from my family and say, well, you have to be sacrificed to open up, I'd be devastated. So I think it's unfortunate. I think we definitely could do something. We just choose not to. We just choose not to.
And that's been a
Right,
debate
right, right.
in reference to stimulus packages and other that, especially when we compare it to other countries. And I don't think that we can compare it in a sense of the amount, but I do think, Teresa, you make a valid point that $1,200 that was given. I mean, I never even got it, but $1,200 that was given 2 or 3 months ago was never. I mean, I said it from the very beginning it wasn't going to do very much, and that's why I was kind of in the point of let's delay it a little bit to try to get a little more. And a lot of Democrats got pushback from that and ended up passing it through. But now a lot of those same people are now wanting more when we missed our opportunity to get more because people were so enamored about these $1,200 that they were going to get because they were being kind of hoodwinked to say, hey, in another 2 or 3 weeks, we're going to open back up. And that was never going to be the case. I mean, remember when this first shutdown happened, we were supposed to open back up by Easter.
Right.
So,
Right.
that was the whole. So, and again, I think that a lot of the things that's going on right now was definitely known. Um, and now we're getting to the point, especially in Florida. I think it's just interesting that in Florida, there are going to be two major political events in Florida. So the rush to get Florida back going again, I think is more personal and political than anything else. And I think we're just being made a fool of to suggest that we're ready to open when not only are the numbers going up, they've never gone down. That's the case that people are really
Right.
not saying. Not only are they just and Dr. Fauci said that he's seen this study even across the country. The numbers, it's not that it's an incline. We haven't hit the curve yet, and that's the scary part about it. So, but how do we feel about kids going back to school? I know Dr. Lee, you already said you started your private school.
I sure am.
I
I
mean,
sure am. Lee's Purpose Preparatory Academy is starting with pre-K and kindergarten, and we have personalized curriculum. Everything is personalized for your unique needs and goals. Yes, my children will not be going to anybody's public institution right now because I know how my children are. My twins are 3 and my son is 2. They don't know social distancing. They don't know to keep their hands out of their mouth, off their faces. It's putting a mask on them. They think it's fun, but then they want to take it off in 5 minutes. Take my picture, mommy. Okay, take it off. And then they're twirling it in the air. It's just not going to work. And there are other populations it's going to be hard for. We haven't even began to address, and I haven't heard this at all, our special needs population, our autism, our ADHD, our students who have learning disabilities. It's going to be hard to explain to them and keep those boundaries for them. I just hate this for parents. I really do. And I'm so glad that I have the option to stay home, but my heart really cries for the parents that I know don't have that option.
Wow.
Absolutely, and that was actually can you guys hear me? That was
Yeah.
actually one of the questions that I did have when it came to schooling, because everybody's trying to figure out, will we be going to school, will we not be going to school, will it be staggering? If you didn't do the survey, what your schools or your child's schools would have done, would have called you. If you did not perform the survey, they should have called you. I take every call from the school board. I just do, that's just me. But they would have called you personally and asked you those 2 questions over the phone, because they really, really need to know, what's good for them. So let me ask you this question here, Dr. Lee. What are you going to do to make it better for the school year for homeschooling? Are you just subject to just your kids, or are you open to others?
Well, I have been asked that if I'm open to others. And originally, my plan was just, to take care of my children. But you know what? I actually said that I would be open to 2, no more than 3 other children coming in, and we work with them. But I know for me personally, I probably couldn't handle any more than my 3 and 3 more. So I am open to it, but I also want it to be people that I know are quarantining, people that I know are still practicing social distancing, because there's still that risk. There's still that risk of you going to work and coming home and not having it Monday, but having it Tuesday. And I don't want to expose my family to that. My children are still young enough where if they do get sick, it's not until they're really
Yeah.
showing physical symptoms that I'll know, because they aren't
Right.
old enough to articulate, mommy, something doesn't feel right. I feel hot. I'm very particular about it, very cautious. But listen, if there's a family or 2 out there with a pre-K kindergarten student, we could work something out. Definitely.
Rates,
I don't want to be
In your
selfish.
area.
rates, address, phone agree.
DM me for details. DM for details.
But the thing
That's
about this
wonderful. I think it's
situation
wonderful.
that makes this unique is, Dr. Lee, you could do everything right and still get this
That's
virus.
true.
That's the challenge. Once you leave outside of your house, whether it's with a mask, social distancing, you are embracing that risk. And we all have to leave the house for whatever reason. You got to go to the
Yeah.
grocery store, you got to get some gas. So that is the thing that is just so heartbreaking about this situation, that unless literally you are in the house and have no reason to get out of the house, that's really the only way that you can really 100% not catch this virus. And that's what makes it so dangerous. That's what makes it so difficult to navigate. And so, as you said, it once you open your doors to one person, now you're opening yourself up to that possibility.
Yeah.
But let me tell you something. What I'm glad has happened. I don't know if you guys seen it or not, but some days I hadn't received my results, so I was kind of livid. So I did go on Facebook, but I was very cordial, but a little aggressive, of course. And I was angry with the fact that it had been over 7, 8, 9, going on these days that I have not received the result. Considering that we're supposed to be such in a pandemic, that's the word, pandemic, meaning like an emergency. Considering Florida, is one of the ones that's on the rise when it comes to COVID cases and positive cases and all of that. So I was upset, and I know that different places have different laboratories. So I got on Facebook. I told them, it's been too long. I tagged Governor DeSantis. I tagged the company that's the headquarters is actually out of Miami. I tagged a couple of people. I even ended up emailing and calling and talking with my mayor here in the city of Sunrise and connected a couple other people that I know with resources because I was mad. They all said they're going to try to do or get done as far as that. And I'm glad to say that what's his name, Governor DeSantis did come back on the other day and said that we're going to do something, try to wrap it with these tests because 7 to 10 to 14 days is entirely too long. 7 to 10 to 14 days, I don't had another test. I'm serious.
Right.
It's free. It's free. Every 10, 14 days, I'm getting another test. I said it. I am. I'm sorry. I'm getting another test.
Well,
Because I do be out. I am asymptomatic person, so yeah, I don't see why not, unless my doctors give me a prescription out there I have to pay. But as long as I can drive up to CB Smith Park between 9 and 4 o'clock or whatever time it is, I'm taking a test for free. Mm-hmm.
I have not taken the test as of yet. Dr. Lee, have you taken the test?
I have not.
I have not
I
taken the test.
actually called to take a test, and they said I wasn't showing symptoms, so I wasn't eligible. There was a
Sad for
one eight
you.
hundred number they said you could call. They said I wasn't showing
Oh yeah,
symptoms. I wasn't. I said, oh, I thought
yeah,
anybody could take it.
yeah. You have to be at least asymptomatic, or you got to say, I have a sore throat, this or that or whatever's going on. At the
You could have
time, I
started
did have a
talking
little
when you
cold,
were
so I just
talking
wanted to
about
be sure.
I mean, I could have pretended
Huh?
to call, but I didn't know I needed symptoms. I just thought, a precaution. Um, Let me go ahead and take one just in case. But
And you're right. You know why you're right? Because they say that you may not display symptoms.
mhm.
So it should have been just to take the test as precaution. Sorry they didn't give you the test. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So let me. So we were supposed to go. My church was supposed, Unity Christian was supposed to go back to service on Sunday. I know a lot of other churches were supposed to go back on Sunday as well, or the coming up. But that did not happen here in South Florida. Most, I would say, 75% of the churches decided to wait until August, and some just went about as they were already going to church anyway. But I do have to ask this question here: is there, Pastor? Is there a new awakening on the church when it comes to the level of maturity with the young people? Are we gonna be instructed to, like, they're gonna be sitting there like, so what you got to say? Bring it. I'm serious, because and I'm saying that because the atmosphere has changed for them. Back then, which was 2 months ago, you did what your mama did and what your daddy did. Now it's like I'm very liberated. I really want to know more when it comes to this religion, when it comes to Christianity, when it comes to believing God. I have a lot of questions now. I don't know if I want to sit back under the past. I don't know if this is for me. You know, um, Not blaming it on Black Lives Matter or anything like that, but like I said some weeks ago, my daughter asked me a question. So there's a lot of questioning. Is it like, what do I have to? Because at one time it was a point, what I got to do to get these millennials in church. Is it a different feel for it now? Will it be a different atmosphere? Is it a different awakening? What you think, Pastor?
I mean, there's so many layers to that onion. I mean, churches, and some people get offended when you say this, but really, church is not going to be the same again. The concept. Some people like to, when it comes to changes, and this is, I think, why churches have gotten stuck down through the years, Dr. Lee, is because for some reason we have been taught that the church will not be affected by the present day climate. When it's social media, church don't need that. When it comes to the church, don't need that. We're gonna be the church. God's the same yesterday, today, and forevermore. I am the Lord thy God, I change it not. And so we have been really taught that the church doesn't have to change. I think this is the first thing in a while that everybody has figured out. No, it's going to be a change. It's going to be a difference. It's just going to change. People that were comfortable. Think about it. The seniors were comfortable with coming to church, right? They wanted to come. If you poll most seniors now, they're scared to come. Not for the sake of the church. It's because of this pandemic that they're scared to come. So you're not going to even get the people that would have normally come anymore. So everything we've known about church as from a pastoral perspective has to be done differently. I think our methodology, our preaching has to be different. I think now people are more engaged with substance versus the sound, because we don't have all the accoutrements of the band, the lights, and all those things. And so now people are
45
listening.
minutes,
People
45
are
minutes.
actually listening to what you are saying, because you don't have the music covering it up. You don't have the hoop to cover it up. They are listening to what you have to say. And so for a lot of guys, they're not going to be able to survive that, because they've been able to mask a lack of substance down through the years. And so now I was at church the other day. We were doing our praise and worship recording, and they were getting at it. And afterwards, man, the band was, and I said to myself, I can't even remember the last time I literally preached a sermon. Like, I missed it at the moment, but I didn't miss it, if that makes any sense. Because I've changed and adapted to a different structure and sound. Not to say you can't go back to that periodically, but I don't think that we're going to be able to do church the way we've done it, because this has been an awakening. We're not going to even talk about the time length of church. We know that when you are in a building, there are going to be some things that take longer. You don't have the ability to edit and things of that nature. But who are we kidding? People are going custom now to the 60-minute, 75-minute model of church. So we're going to try to have to duplicate that live. They get it because it's pre-recorded and you can do, but we're going to have to try to duplicate that live, because the parishioners still going to be like, well, man, you was doing it in 60 minutes. I mean, how can you get me in and out of here? And so, I mean, things are just going to be different. That's from my pastoral perspective. I'll ask you guys as parishioners, what are some of the things that you're going to be looking for differently in church that you maybe were not looking for before?
I think in this season, it has definitely made me look more for information than inspiration. I noticed that a lot of preachers are great at inspirational messages. You can win. You're going to be fine. You'll do well. But I think in this season, because this past Sunday, I actually listened to a lecture. It was a lecture from a New Testament professor from Boston University. And she did a 45-minute lecture on Matthew 25, the parable of the talents. And I was blessed. I said yes, because it gave me perspective. It gave me background. It gave me in-depth. Now, that made me be the nerd in me, unapologetically the nerd in me. But I realized that people are looking for, how do I hold on? How do I survive? How do I get to know God if I can never walk back into the church? I don't need cheerleaders. Right now, I need a coach. I need strategies. And I think the funny thing is, growing up, I grew up in the Pentecostal assemblies of the world. I used to always hear that there's going to be a time when Bibles are illegal. There's going to be a time when you can't go to church. There's going to be a time when you have to rely on your faith and your faith alone. And when you're hearing this as a young person, you're like, yeah, okay, whatever. But you never think that that time may be a pandemic. And you may have to pick up your Bible and know the order a little bit of these 66 books so that you can find a scripture to speak to you. So I definitely think that people's appetite is changing. If for no other reason, people are going to miss community. And I think that will certainly drive people to church when churches do open back up, kind of like a New Year's Eve service.
Right.
I think that more people were shaken by this than we realize, because a lot of people never thought something of this magnitude could happen. They never thought the world would shut down. The world would shut down. So and don't even get me started. There is no shortage of quote unquote prophets and apostles. I put them in quotes because I don't know them, who are speaking of the end times, and this is just a sign. So if not for new appetites, it also could be out of fear as well. That I think people will still come and still want a word.
No, I don't think that, we always
Tanisha,
put
you
that
laughing at
category:
me?
inspiration, information, inspiration.
Uh-huh.
And I don't think that you have to put them in categories. I think the great preachers are able to give you both, if that makes sense. I don't think just because you're giving somebody information, it doesn't have to be inspirational. Because I think not the lack of inspiration is what people are looking for. It is the lack of the performance that people are no longer looking for. That's what it is. They still want to be inspired. I mean, people need to be inspired during this pandemic. They need to know that they're going to survive and make it, but it has to be done with some substance behind it, because
And that's what I mean. And maybe I should clarify that.
It's gonna be all right. Yeah, I kind of figured you did, but just for the untrained ear, I just wanted to clarify that, because it can't be just name it and claim it. That season of preaching is over. People want to know. Give me step A, step B, step C. That's how people want to be taught in this season. It doesn't mean that the hyper of service does not have to be there. That has to be more organic. That the praise and the worship, because God is still in that, but it has to be more organic. It can't be, we know what it's like to go to church and we know where the pastor is going before he gets there. That part of church is over. That's done. People can see through that now. So that's my take on it.
Yeah.
Tanisha, what
I hope so. Yeah, I hope you're right when they can. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Terisha.
It's okay. Go ahead.
Well, I hope you're right that they can see through. But it was one thing that Dr. Lee said that I thought was important, is that a lot of them, some of them are looking sustain myself without walking into the building, and that's where the younger generation, my daughter, that's where their mindset is at, because they're more intellectual thinkers than how we went, because our mama said we went, but they're more into that. Well, why, or who? Well, who said so? In that realm, well, do I have to go to church to believe in God? They're on that realm of questioning, and some of these families may not have the answer or can't answer the question for them. I'm just gonna keep it real now. Y'all don't come at me, but some can't answer the question for them because they got a lot of inspiration and a lot of hooping than knowledge. But yeah.
I think the church still has to
I ain't trying to offend nobody.
Community and family and togetherness. Even the Bible talks about, even from I don't think it's just for a marital situation, but God didn't make man to be alone. I think that the church has to have a level of community still involved in it, because when a person that I think isolation is a lot of times is of the devil. When you follow scripture, the devil always attacked in isolation. He hardly ever attacked in groups. So I think that we have to be careful. We have to be careful when we co-sign and endorse this spirit of isolation, because people can get in trouble and people can start hurting and people can start being in a place and nobody knows that they're in this place because they're isolated. And so I think that the church, for the lack of a better term, is marketing strategy to get people back in church. And I use that term loosely. But I think we have to continue to preach the need of togetherness, family, even if it's virtually. We need to see you. We need to know you're there. We need to see. We need to see your continence. We need to know how you're doing. So that's still going to be important in this next season as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I agree with you. I think some isolation is healthy. I think prolonged isolation can breed crazy, um, particularly with a strong belief in God. Um, and that can breed those, well, God told me to drink the Kool-Aid that happens to have poison in it, you know. So I absolutely agree with you. I do think that the community of church is necessary. I think the community of church is vital. But I also think that in this pandemic, it is challenging the church to affirm its necessity, its place in people's lives. I know that's
Absolutely.
a weird thing to say. Like a church, you have to prove yourself as the church, but in a way you do, because as Tanisha said, I too grew up in that you live in my house, you're going to church. You're going to church every Sunday, Wednesday, Thursday, and a couple other days in between for revival and this, that, and the other. But a lot of the people, younger people, are saying, "But why? But why?" And because I told you so, or because, or do as I say and not as I do, is just not valid anymore. People actually want answers. They want to understand, and they want to know and actually experience God. So I say you're absolutely right, Pastor A. You can be inspirational and informational. I think my just to clarify it, because you're absolutely right, Tanisha. I don't want to offend nobody. I don't want no pastors inboxing me. Um, is to say that I have been to churches where you come in and it is a matter of, well, I shouldn't have to say a word and you should just praise God. Just be happy. Just be excited. God is good and he doesn't want you to suffer. And let's just thank him in advance for all the blessings. So we're not going to get a word. So you're not going to say nothing. Okay.
In
That's
other
what we're going to
words,
do.
yes,
You know, and that doesn't go over well online. So you know, I think we're asking more of ourselves as lay. We're asking more of leadership. We're asking more of pastors. I think this is a season of pulling on everybody on every side.
and what I've learned, and this has come from my congregation, because we hear it all the time. There's gonna be a time you can't get to the pastor, you can't get the rev, you can't get. What my church, and I only can speak for my church, what my church has taught me is that I've really laid a foundation of God in them. And so, and I say that because, we meet on a regular basis with our church weekly, really, and I don't have the pressure of returning back to the building. Yes, they want a fellowship, but I don't have the pressure of returning back to the building because they understand that God is not just in the building. And that is very important. So if and for a lot of pastors, if you're being pressured to get back in that building, that may be a sign of that's the only place where we can feel God, because you have not taught them how to have a personal relationship with God. Maybe because you've tried to be their God, maybe because you've gotten in the way of God. And so there has to come a time that when pastors and leaders move themselves out of the way so people can see God in whatever situation they're in. And I think that's where I think this is why this has been so intentional by God, is because a lot of people had a relationship with the church, but didn't have a relationship with God.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
You're muted, Tanisha. There you go.
Sorry, guys. Yeah, thank you so much. So, guys, I want to apologize. I kind of moved away from the camera. I should have just minimized myself. I don't know what I was thinking. But I was getting some signs for the yard for my friend Sheila McCormick because she's running
Oh,
in District 20 for the year 2020. All right. I just wanted to say this. I was getting some of those to put in the front yard.
nice.
But listen, I wanted to talk about what I've been seeing. I knew I was going to see it because we're virtual, right? So normally when we're physical, the churches and other groups and other empowerment groups, so they say, pass out these cards, right? I call them track cards, tick cards, whatever you want to call them. And what it is, it have their favorable candidate of who they think should be in that category. And they pass it out, especially as people go into the polls, because they believe in, oh, this is church one. I'm gonna vote with this. Oh, this is the Pompano Church. This is a lot of their church. This is the Miami Church. This is the, Hollywood Church, or whoever owns that particular organization to vote for. I don't like them. So the last couple of days has been causing a little riffraff, because some people have put, oh, that's a fraud card, or that's a this card, or whatever, and I went up under the comment, it's only fraud if your person is not on there. You know what I'm saying? It's not fraud. It just, yeah, that's what I said. If your person's not on there, then it's not fraud. So don't call it a fraud card or anything like that, because every person is believed to vote for whoever they want to vote for. Now, when you get these things, do not, and I repeat, do not go off of what you see. I need everyone to be their own person. Um, we have the time right now to look these people up. If you haven't received a mail-in ballot or a sample ballot, go pick one up. Take your time to study. You have the time to study the amendments, of who's who, of what's going on. Because I haven't even seen any commercial amendments. Have you guys? I haven't seen any of the amendments, or for the explanation. So you guys have the time to do that. But that's just my take up on it. Don't go with these trackers or these tick ballots, and because they seem reputable from one particular person or one group or one section. Because I think everybody need a fair chance. So to monopolize and try to say, hey, y'all, because you live over here in this area, you need to vote for these people. I just think it's silly.
Yeah, this is the time of
Okay,
year
y'all ain't got nothing to say.
to see this happening. What people have to understand, a lot of people buy their way on cards. A lot of people have ulterior motives why they're pushing certain candidates. And I'll say it for to get in trouble. It doesn't matter. Even a lot of pastors, they have a lot of pastors' votes can be bought. It's sad to say, but it's true. One of the things I've always tried to say, even if I'm endorsing a candidate, one of the reasons why I never ask for anything, even for somebody I'm endorsing, is if it comes a time where I have to speak against something you've done, I want to have the power to do that. And unfortunately, what we end up seeing with pastors is, and not just pastors, but a lot of people, they attach themselves to a person to a point to where their silence has been bought. So now, when this person gets in the office and doesn't do everything he or she says they're going to do, you can't speak on it because your silence has been bought. And so, for a lot of people, what we're seeing is in various races throughout the county, we're seeing people pushing agendas. Some are old agendas, some are just familiar agendas because their silence has been bought. And so you're absolutely right. I tell anybody, whether it's a sheriff race, mayor race, just do your research. Just do your research. Do your research. You have nothing else better to do in a lot of cases. This is a perfect opportunity. You don't have to vote for the familiar. You don't have to vote for the person that's more popular. Do your research. And a lot of times in doing our research, we will discover a whole lot of things about people that we never would have known about before. So that's my take on that. But I'm starting to see it. It's laughable to me. I'm just starting to laugh at it.
Right?
Because I know the angle people are playing, and I'm just like, man, if they only knew why they're making that comment, I'm telling you. But sometimes I leave it alone. I let it rest.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah, that's good. So yeah, guys. So make sure that you do that. I just read an article that says 70% of the Black community write on an attachment of others and not their own research. Absolutely. We follow others. We I believe what you say because you're my pastor. So I believe Pastor A. He say vote for such and such. I'm going with him. That's one of the reasons why base loaded. That's why politicians go into churches. I don't believe in that. When the politician come in the church that I'm in, and they will tell you, I get up and I walk out. That is not the place for you to do your influence. I just don't believe it. That's just me. Anybody else is different, but that's just me.
I don't think it's not a bad thing.
It may not. It's not bad, but it's just not for me.
I think that's in our
Because if you're
history,
gonna
that's in our
have one,
culture.
you need to have all of them.
Well, that's true. I mean, in some cases, I mean, sometimes all of them don't want to come. All of them, that's another thing that's kind of catchy too when it comes to candidates, because sometimes people get the impression, well, you should have both, or sometimes you invite both and both don't want to come. It's just so many things. I think for the black church, I think it is important that they do come through our churches, because for the black community, it's the only place where that many black people are going to be gathered in one place. Let's just be honest. We don't have social clubs. We don't have other places where black people are going to gather. And so it is a good place to happen. Or churches can come together and put on political forums that can help communities as well.
Well,
But
I'll
what I
accept
try to
that, a
do
political form.
what
Yeah.
I try to do as with amendments, especially, even if I'm going to give my opinion, we've done videos explaining the pros and cons, and we will give a recommendation, but we explain the pros and the cons of both sides of it. So I think even with this technology, if we were in churches, we can definitely do a better job with informing our parishioners of the totality of an amendment, so they can still be able to make a sensible choice. Because the thing that gets people with the amendment is the language of it. Because sometimes a yes
Right.
can mean no, and a no can mean yes. And so, and that's why, and they know that in a lot of cases. And so we have to be very particular about explaining the amendments, because people sometimes they look on election day and thought that what they wanted was going to pass, and they voted for just the opposite because nobody really explained it to them.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I think the comment, the 70% of the black community vote on attachment and others and not research. I think the truth of the matter is you can actually take a race out of that. That's why they use commercials and door hangers and signs. I think most people base their research on what they see and what they hear. They're not actually going through and researching all the candidates. That's why in one race there'll be 7 people running and you only know 2, because those 2 have the most money to get commercial and TV time. So I don't know if I want to attribute that just to the black community. I would ask for the source of that statistic. And I also think that it's okay for candidates to come into the church. I think they should come into the church. I think what has become a bit questionable is the placing and the time, the placement of that candidate in the service on Sunday mornings, and the timing of that candidate. If we're voting in November and they only come by every October, every 2 years in October, that's a bit questionable for me. However, I do think that if a pastor and his leadership say they care about my soul, they have to care about my body as well. So you have to inform me and talk to us about people who are working in the community for the better. Because sometimes our politicians, we don't realize what they're doing because we're busy with our day-to-day life, but the leaders in our community do know. So they may have a better vantage point to share with us. So in that case, there's nothing wrong with hearsay or hearing from someone what actually is going on, because I'm working, I'm with my children, I'm a wife. I can't be in the community the way some of these leaders can. Pastor A is on the go and I'm like, hey, I gotta go. I can't be with you on that one. But God bless you. I'm sending you my prayers. So he has insight that I may not
Right.
have because he's sitting at leadership tables. But I will say I'm with you, Tanisha. I don't like when they come with warm smiles and say Black Lives Matter for 30 days before an election, and then we never hear or see
And an
them and
offering. And an
an
offering.
offering. Yeah, yeah, it's a little shady. It's a little shady.
It don't be much. It don't be much in those offerings, by the way. Trust me,
Tell on them, Pastor.
it don't be much in those offerings. But I will say, and this is what I challenge a lot of now. Unfortunately, I'm gonna say unfortunately, where we pastor, we don't receive most of the people that's running in our community are black, but what one of the things that I do hate is when the white person comes in and tell us how much he hates racism, and I say to him, no, you go down the street and say that to
Yeah.
that church,
Yeah.
because that is where most people don't realize you're getting mixed signals. There's one speech that I'm going to give in the black church, and there's
Yeah.
another speech that I'm going to give in the other churches, and a lot of times they conflict each other, and we're just sucking it up. And he's going to go 5 minutes later down the street at the other church, and he's going to say just the opposite, because nobody's really following them. So we have to get to the point as churches, as leaders, to really, really vet and put our feet on the necks of these politicians and let them know that you can't play us. We are
Absolutely.
following you. We're going to follow you. Chances are, when you go to your next stop, somebody's going to post that. We're going to listen to what you say. And we're going to ask you, well, why you didn't say Black Lives Matter at the white congregation?
Mhm.
We know Black
Right,
Lives
right.
Matter
That's
here.
true.
And these are the things that we don't put the pressure on our politicians on that. And I don't even
Right.
know if we're going to be able to do it in this season. I think for a lot of politicians, they're going to get away with not being able to market and do because we're in a different climate right now.
Right.
Mhm.
They ain't got to speak as much. Woo.
Right. Don't
You
have to
know,
speak
they ain't
as
got to
much.
be approachable. They
Right.
ain't got to be in that atmosphere. Woo.
Right. I
You
think
Uh-huh.
know, for a lot of them.
incumbents have a greater shot in this season because of familiarity. You got to be almost awful to not win as an incumbent, because the attention is elsewhere. And so a lot of people gonna slide back in undeserving because of that.
Yeah.
You got to, or you have just been lazy and have not done anything and have just been sitting there. And the only thing that people are voting for basically is the name. And
Right.
you could be dead or alive. If they see that name, that's who they're gonna vote for. So we're hoping, y'all know what I'm leading to. So we're hoping that that does not happen,
Right.
especially in District 20. So
Yeah.
I
But
did want to
Dr.
say one thing since we're talking about since we're talking about church. Now, your church is in Pompano, Pastor A,
Yes.
and I have a friend who's doing I guess, revival for the region in that area. As we know, that Pompano is probably about 1/3 of the crime rate in Broward, and also leading in homicide. You told me that part. I didn't know. Leading in homicide, and I have Patrick Johnson here, Minister Patrick Johnson. Um, that's on with us, and explain to us exactly what you're doing in the area of Pompano on next Saturday.
Hey, greetings, Dr. Tanisha Simpkins, Pastor A, and Dr. Lee. It's a pleasure to be able to say hello to each of you on this evening, and I'm honored to first be here. I'm sitting in my truck and doing what I have to do right now. We are excited that we have a ministry outside of the gates as a church. We normally are doing things virtually because of COVID, but we have decided that me and my team that we would do what we call pop-up church once a month, and once a month we will travel throughout the South Florida region and have almost like a old school tent revival meeting, and we'll incorporate other things into that, such as on this upcoming Sunday, July the 19th, we'll have a leadership summit where in which individuals who are entrepreneurs will come share what they're doing in business to motivate people to become entrepreneurs, whether it's in real estate, whether it's credit fixing, network marketing, various individuals that will be attending. In addition to that, we have individuals that are coming that will be setting up their brand, their products, and they're actually looking to hire individuals on Sunday that qualify. So they'll be filling out applications and interviewing. And I know there are people that are literally looking to hire individuals right at service on this upcoming Sunday. In addition to that, while that is taking place, we will also have brunch that is served for the entire community. It's all free. all sponsored by the Ministry Outside the Gates and our numerous corporate partners that have rallied with us. What happened to the sound? What happened to my sound?
Tanisha, you're muted.
Tanisha, you're muted.
Oh, thanks for letting me know, guys. Thanks. Thank you much, Patrick. So, like I said, on next Saturday, I myself and others will be talking about when it comes to our faith and when it comes to business and entrepreneurship. And also, we'll be having a little church there going on too, a little tent revival. Everybody likes a good. I haven't been to a tent revival in a long time, so hopefully you got a tent. But I I did this, but yeah. So I'm expecting to have a good time. So those who are in the area in Pompano Beach, it'll be on Hammondville Road. You should be able to see us. It's right next to or across from, I think, a familiar church or from the store. That's right there near the intersection of 6th and Hammondville Road. You should be able to see in that little lot there. I seen it when you guys were there. I'm from Pompano, so I was able to notice what spot you guys were in. Um, so yeah, just come on out there. Like they said, they have food that's going to be out there as well. And the purpose is for the motivation of others to do something other than what they're doing, to be creative in what you're doing. So many people have thought to do different things, just like Dr. Lee. Dr. Lee has been in quarantine. Dr. Lee say, "Hey, I got my own school. Let me start this thing. Let me do my curriculum." That's entrepreneurship, because you never know where it may take her. I was just looking for a building last, and I'm going to do something with education. She might be in that building. Who knows? You know, she looking like I ain't trying to work nowhere else. But who knows? But entrepreneurship can take you many places, and the best thing about it is to actually learn things from A to Z when it comes to business. And I immediately said yes to Minister Johnson, Pastor Johnson, because there's so many mistakes that people make when it comes to business, about getting their LLC, getting paying, getting a business account, getting a business credit, line of credit, just a whole lot of things. And also doing their credit, so many things that have actually chopped people up. Y'all know when they was trying to get these loans, some people got their little $1,000 grant, but when it came to that 9,000 part for the loan, they were denied, for a lot of small reasons, paper reasons, something that they didn't feel like. Somebody didn't have a business account. This person didn't have, their credit together. So we want to make sure, that everyone is equipped when they leave there, whether it's ministry wise, you've been fed, you have been eaten, with food, you have been fed, with the word, and you get some acknowledgement when it comes to business. That's like a preaching right there, y'all. But yeah. Well, I thank you so much, Pastor Johnson. And I'll make sure to continue to share the flyer. You guys can see the flyer here. There's a list of others who are on there. Some people familiar that you may know. I only know me, that you may be familiar with. So, you can come out there. So again, it starts at 8 o'clock. The service starts at 8, but you can come in and fill in at 9 or 10. It's going to be leading up until I think about 12 or 1 o'clock. No lunch, so just breakfast. So just come prepared to eat for the breakfast. All right.
Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you so much, Pastor Johnson. You have a great day.
Likewise, thank you.
You're welcome. So, guys, I have one last thing here, and that's for Pastor A. Terisha, what's up with NBA? Are we gonna watch NBA basketball or what? I mean, like they're going through the motions of going all the way to Orlando, having these games. They're gonna have these COVID tests where every 24 or 48 hours or something like that. 24 to 48 hours. Um, they can't go anywhere. They're gonna be stuck in the room. So there's really no physical plus, physical distancing at all with their family. I mean, is it worth it, or could we just say, "I see you next season"? I mean, that's a lot.
Well, we know
I know
Dr.
you're a sports fan. That's why I'm asking.
She doesn't even know the name of the player, so she already said that last show. The NBA is in an interesting spot, unlike other professional sports, because they're trying to put a conclusion to their season. Unlike the other sports, NFL and Major League Baseball, who haven't started as of yet, and so they put together them in the NHL. Essentially, they're all doing the same thing, and they're all in Florida. By the way, NHL is in Florida, NBA is in Florida. You know, all of this stuff is happening in Florida. The debate is going to be in Florida. The convention is going to be in Florida. Everything is in Florida, right? But it's interesting because there's been some blowback from the players as it relates to this. Some have opted out and said that they don't want to come for various reasons. The NBA did give them that option to opt out without any penalty, I guess, contractual penalty. But I think it's going to happen unless there is a heavy spike in cases. I think 90%, if not more, of the teams have already arrived in this bubble. Is at the Universal Studios compound, and so, but I think it's going to happen. So I think minus the testing increasing or cases increasing, I think it's going to happen. Now, the interesting part of this is you said they're going to be tested every day. How fast are these results coming back? And if their results are able to come back this fast, why can't other results come back this fast? That's the question I think need to be asked. Because I'm assuming if they're testing, they're not waiting 3 days until they get the results. It's probably going to be almost
4 hours
or a pregnancy test. They're going to know right then if they have COVID. So we got to try to figure out why can't that level of testing be more of an option?
Well, but that's not going to happen. They got money. Our tests are free, so that's not going to happen.
I mean, we got money too.
I think and they ain't gonna do that for us. I think they should wait. Just wait to the next season, call it a loss. I don't know why they're trying to do all this. If it's ending, if it's in the middle, or whatever the case may be. Why put that pressure? Why have people have the anxiety that they put in that pressure just for some basketball? I mean, it's all good. Just wait. I mean, the guys will be okay. You know, I know a lot of people are missing sports, football, basketball, baseball, all of this. Just you know, I guess because I'm not a fanatic, so I don't care. But I look at it when I watch it. But I just think that it's just putting too much pressure. Even some of the players, you're putting a pressure on them to saying you have to play, and they may not want to risk it.
Well,
I got to go out there. If I got to take a test every day, I'm touching a sweaty ball. Me and you throwing at each other. We got to have some type of defense of getting the ball and sweating and I'm slapping you here on the hand and come on now, that's just too much.
But this was players driven. It was players driven, and they're giving the players the option to opt out without any penalty. Remember now, a lot of these players, they've already gotten their money. So for the NBA, it's a little different because most of them have already gotten their salaries. They want to play because they want to crown a champion. This is the athletic part of them, that's driving this force. And so the LeBron James and the major athletes.
Only LeBron wants to do this.
No, it's more than LeBron. It's more than LeBron. It's others. Because if it wasn't, you wouldn't have it. They're not forcing them to go there. They're doing it at their own free will.
It's almost like if it's like if I say no, I would be like, why you said no, man? It's like they put you in a position, an ego or manhood position.
I think the bigger question is for the other sports who they're taking a bigger risk because, as I said, the NBA is really not. They've gotten their money. NFL players and others, they haven't received their money yet. So the pressure to play for them is going to be even greater. And it goes back to the way everything else is moving. It's about economics. A lot of these $1 million athletes won't be able to afford to miss a season. They're more vulnerable to be bankrupt than the teacher is because they're living way beyond their means. And so it's going to be interesting to see how those players respond. NBA, They really didn't take a cut. They're gonna take a cut next season, but for this season, most of them have gotten 90% of their money already. So
I want to
they're
say one thing before we get off. You guys can comment if you like. I'm so glad that in this season or this little area that we're in, that our young people are not, they're not even concerned, not focused about no musicians, that no, I ain't trying to want to call the names, that no Beyonce's, no Drake's, no this. They have no concern over that right now, or no these basketball players and all of that. It's like you're there, but our focus is so not on you until, a lot of these celebrity people are doing all kind of crazy things on the internet to get attention, but they're just not focused on them, and that lets them know also when they walk away that my focus can be on something else other than the newest rap star, or the newest rapper, or whoever player that's out or that's coming out and so forth. I'm glad that has changed a bit. That's taken all of that focus off of them. Now I know that we go as a profession, to play basketball, football, singers, and all of that, but it also puts them in the area, Dr. Lee, is that I know next time I need to do better with my finances. But that's all I got to say. That's all I have to say, guys. You guys have any announcements or anything like that? Like the church folks, you got any announcements before we head out? If y'all ain't
no,
doing that.
we're doing a drive-in service in a couple of weeks. That's we're sticking our toe in the water with that. It'll be so just in your car. It'll be the first time our people will gather for service. It'll still be different. They'll listen to it on the car radios. So we're going to do that, weather permitting. Gives us opportunity to somewhat fellowship and get a word in a different way. We'll still stream it and record it on social media, but this is something that our church we made this plan in lieu of coming back. When we forfeited coming back in July, many people have asked could we do this, and so we're gonna try it out, see how it goes. So we're looking forward to that. I told them they better show up because they're gonna be in the AC and I'm gonna be in the sun. So they don't
Right.
show up. This will be the last time we do that because I've been doing my stuff in the AC. So, but I'm looking forward to that. I haven't seen many of our members in months, and so for a pastor, that's been very difficult. But other than that, and hey, tomorrow the big 4-0 for me. So we're gonna spend the rest of this day doing a little bit of reflecting of the things that we've accomplished. That may show up on our social media page for in our 30s. We were able to do a lot in our 30s, but we're looking forward to what God has in store for the 40s.
Well, absolutely. Well, happy birthday to you again, and I hope that you have a wonderful tomorrow. And I'll go ahead and take a look at that cash app that you dropped in there.
Yeah, first comment.
And to our listeners, guys, right. Thank you guys for watching the Table Talk Radio Show. We see back here on next Monday, and hopefully the Monday after that we'll maybe have a couple candidates or so forth. I really wasn't interested because they're everywhere. I mean, absolutely everywhere. Every corner you turn, you see them. But hopefully we'll have a few some ones that are. Or well, all of them are important, but that's like at the front line right now. So thank you guys for being a part of the Table Talk Radio Show, and good night. Good night,
Good
everybody.
night.